Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got a big show for you today. There's a thing or two going on in the news, isn't there,
I know.
Lindsay?
Trump was like, let's just start this year off how we're going to start it off.
I guess so. How was your New Year? You were not feeling so well. So
I
didn't party as much as I did, I guess.
didn't. And there's like this thing that is going around, I think, that everybody that I know pretty much has been sick sometime between the end of December to like the beginning of January. So hopefully we're done with that. What
in
about
my
you?
household as well, but it did not hold us back. We made merry.
Pushed through?
New York City is my New York City. New Year's Eve. We were just talking about New York.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve is my favorite holiday of the year.
How do you get rid of a sickness? You just drink tons of vitamin C quickly?
You just power through it. Regular viewers of the show know that I'm just sick all the time, but I still show up to work.
That's good. That's good. That's noble. Coming up on Rising, President Trump issued a stern warning to Iran, telling them not to shoot protesters or else the U.S. would, quote, come to their rescue.
Plus, a tech billionaire is facing heat on X for saying that the First Amendment should be limited. I don't agree with that.
Well, I know you don't. And after Obamacare subsidies have expired, Democrats have now an opening to rally support against the GOP on the ongoing healthcare battle. But first, Robbie, what's in your radar?
Well, Venezuela, let's talk about the big news story of the day. U.S. forces did oust Venezuelan dictator and narco-trafficker Nicolas Maduro over the weekend, capturing him and bringing him to New York, where he will be prosecuted for his many, many crimes. It was a highly successful military operation, and whatever one thinks about regime change, U.S. interventionism, and whether we should take a more active role in policing the world, there is no denying that Maduro was a loathsome tyrant who impoverished his people, and that they are thrilled he is gone. Venezuelans and Venezuelans all over the world, but especially in Venezuela, they are cheering Maduro's downfall, and they're thanking the U.S. and President Donald Trump for taking action. Just look.
I came in this country when I was 10 years old, and ever since I was born, every single person in power of the country has abused us and abused of their power. We have been living in a dictatorship for about 20 years. So I can tell you, this feels like a breath of fresh air.
Contrary to the leftist notion that the inhabitants of poorer nations hate America and love their corrupt dictators, many of the world's oppressed people actually want the U.S. to police the world. They love America, they love freedom, and they seek the opportunity to engage in trade, capitalism, and democracy, all things that are possible only once the Maduros of the world are gone. Moreover, Venezuela is in our backyard. It's part of the Americas, it's part of our hemisphere. It's not on the other side of the world, say in the Middle East, under influences of a different religion. And that is essentially the justification we're hearing from this administration, which, after all, did promise no new wars. That was a very important part of Trump's agenda when he ran for a second term. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio said this isn't war. It's a law enforcement action designed to bring to justice a dangerous outlaw. Here was Rubio on Meet the Press.
This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be a base of operation for adversaries, competitors, and rivals of the United States.
Have specific oil companies?
We also want to see that oil and the proceeds from it. Hold on. We want to see the oil proceeds of that country benefit the people of Venezuela. Why have 8 million people left Venezuela? 8 million, the single largest mass migration probably in modern history, left Venezuela in 2014 because all the wealth of that country was stolen to the benefit of Maduro and his cronies in the regime, but not to the benefit of people of Venezuela. You know how destabilizing 8 million migrants is?
Rubio continued making the point I just made that Venezuela is not Libya or Syria or Iraq or Afghanistan.
Venezuela looks nothing like Libya. It looks nothing like Iraq. It looks nothing like Afghanistan. It looks nothing like the Middle East other than the Iranian agents that are running through there plotting against America. Okay? These are Western countries with long traditions among their on a people-to-people and cultural level and ties to the United States. So there's nothing like that. So I think people need to stop ascribing the apples and oranges here, the apples of the Middle East to the oranges of the Western Hemisphere.
But do you...
Number two, this is about the national interest of the United States. And what I'm confident of is we are in a safer and better place because we're taking it seriously.
Now, many in the MAGA movement are backing Trump and Rubio on this. The Daily Wire's Matt Walsh writes on X, I'm as reflexively non-interventionist as anyone can possibly be, but Venezuela appears to be a resounding victory, one of the most brilliant military operations in American history. As an unapologetic American chauvinist, I want America to rule over this hemisphere and exert its power for the good of our people. Now, it's true and a valid point, Venezuela is a different situation, and the operation to apprehend Maduro was entirely successful. Many Democrats are predictably whining about Trump doing this, but of course the Biden administration put a bounty on Maduro's head. What did they think was going to happen? Kamala Harris, for example, posted a lengthy statement of very little substance, no surprise there, in which she criticized Trump for daring to actually do what Biden, I guess, only wanted done in an imaginary sense. This irony was not lost, by the way, on former New York City Mayor Eric Adams. He writes, on January 10th, 2025, the Biden-Harris administration put a $25 million bounty on Nicolas Maduro for information leading to his arrest or conviction. Public safety is not a political game. You do not label someone a narco dictator one year and then pretend he's no longer a threat the next year simply because a different president is in office. That is cynical and irresponsible. Welcome to New York, Nicholas. Now, all cheering for Maduro's downfall aside, it still remains the case that the vast majority of the American people, including conservative Trump supporters, and including myself, do not want to get bogged down in running another country. The administration needs to focus on running America, on growing the economy, on bringing down prices, cutting regulations so that we can build more housing, on improving our education system and our healthcare system, on reducing crime. Venezuela's problems are Venezuela's problems, and while there's no reason we have to repeat our mistakes in Iraq, frankly, there's no reason we won't repeat them if we commit ground forces, try to oversee or manage the governmental transition, start handpicking successors, or telling Venezuelans that, well, they can have democracy, but only as long as it works out the way we want it to. We also must not simply plunder the wealth of the country. That would make us no better than the communists. What we want is for Venezuelans to have access to their own resources and to trade and sell them to us, so that both our country and theirs can grow in prosperity and freedom. They have oil, we have money. Simple as that. That should be the vision for Venezuela, not the 51st state, not some Afghanistan-style quagmire. But for now, the end of Nicolas Maduro's reign is a defeat for socialism globally and for drug traffickers, and a victory for free people in Venezuela and around the world. Viva la libertad. And we'll be talking about this a lot later today and in the coming week, but what's your immediate reaction?
Well, I think it's important to first start with kudos to the service members for the professionalism that left no one killed or dead or seriously harmed. So that's worth noting. I also think that, it's important to point out that there are a large population, the largest in the country, of Venezuelans in Doral, Florida, who were celebrating, and these videos are not made up, right? No. There are people that have strong feelings about getting rid of this dictator. 80% of residents in Venezuela were living in poverty. The economy was under collapse. Maduro was not a good guy. But that's still putting that to aside. We went from America first to America will run Venezuela in like less than a year. Mm-hmm. And so I think that the critical nature of a lot of people's feedback about what the president is doing is rightful, because the Congress people felt like they were completely skipped over in this process. Nobody knows what the plan, timeline, or the price tag is for what may look like a war. And this often leads into chaos that gets dragged out, like the examples that you cited that Rubio says are nothing to do with Venezuela when you look at Afghanistan or Iraq. But when you look at the vice president that's now in charge in Venezuela, President Trump is saying that they're on the same page. That was his first statement. And he completely skipped over the Nobel Peace Prize winner, which you would think would be the democratic next step for the country. He said she's in no position to lead. So he kind of like gave her a huge snub and looked at the vice president to possibly be the next leader. But she has been very direct about she called for the release of Maduro immediately. Right. And that's obviously going to cause friction. So I don't see how, again, going back to that price, timeline, plan, how this is going to play out smoothly when Trump tells the Washington Post over the weekend that whether U.S. troops are stationed in Venezuela depends on how Rodriguez, who is the vice president, responds to this. And her response is not ideal. Her response already is not ideal. And so when people are looking at this whole situation and wondering how it plays out next, that is a real question, because kudos to the service members for completing the mission in this way. But now that we've turned something that is a U.S. issue with him and drug trafficking into a non-war issue, even though we put boots on the ground there to get this man out of the country, what's the plan now?
Right. Well, if Maduro lacks legitimacy, Rodriguez lacks legitimacy too. The legitimate winner of the previous election was the person deemed the runner-up. That's who Machado supports taking over. Now, like you, I don't want to be overly involved in managing the country and figuring all that out. And I am, as I've said for weeks now, skeptical of a legal justification, law enforcement that skips around Congress's a need to weigh in, right? I think yes, I think he should have brought it before Congress. Now, the administration is saying this is law enforcement. Biden put a bounty on his head. What did you expect? That's calling for his arrest. We went and arrested him for crimes against our country, for which he will be tried here.
And it didn't raise red flags to you when you heard the president
say... No, it did raise red flags.
Well, no, when you heard the president say the U.S. will run Venezuela. We're like, wait, that's not what we...
That does raise red flags. It's not what Rubio's saying. It's not what other administration officials are saying.
So you think the president just spoke out of turn there?
I certainly hope so, because America first does not mean running Venezuela. Though I'm very happy for the people. The people are thrilled all over, celebrating the downfall of this truly odious man who will finally face justice. Coming up, we will continue our discussion of the capture of Nicolas Maduro. We'll look at reactions from lawmakers, from some Democrats, and arguments over what should happen next. Stay with us.